So, first of all, Andri Silberschmidt, thank you so much for taking the time. We had just a quick exchange earlier today, and here we are on Zoom. I think it's really incredible. Super grateful to you for taking the time. Obviously, you have an amazing background. You have accomplished a lot in such a young age. You're a member of the parliament. Here in Switzerland, you have been very active in the startup scene and are a very outgoing person. And obviously, you're also very interested in what's going on in the Swiss startup scene. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So first and foremost of all, I would like to get a little bit more into your background. So one of the key questions that I have is, I would love to learn a little bit more about who you are, what your background is, and how you got into politics. What is fascinating to you about politics and what are you doing there?
So it was 8 or 9 years ago. I had a speech at the national holiday for I was an apprentice in the bank, and I had a 2-minute speech. And after this speech, I was like so excited to talk to the people about my vision for the country is, how I want to change it. So I decided to become a member of a youth party, and then I engaged a lot. And yeah, after 8 years, I'm in parliament now. So it's I never expected that I will be like this in the future, but yeah, I always take it like for the moment, I try my best and see what the future brings.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously, let's talk about the future. What's going on? What do you see in politics right now? What do you see happening on a parliament level? And where are we going with all of this? Obviously, a lot of companies are struggling with this whole Corona situation.
Yeah, actually, at the moment, the parliament has no session. So we had in the first 2 weeks of March, we had ordinary sessions, and the last week of the session was cancelled due to the virus. So at the moment, it's up to the Federal Council to take all these measures to decide from one side what like the people have to stay at home and what measures are taken there, but on the other side also what measures are taken to support the economy. So this is now fully in charge of the Federal Council, but we are discussing an extraordinary session of the parliament probably in April, because all these decisions that are taken now by the government has to be somehow ratified by the parliament as well. So yeah, my expectation in February was that after this session, we will talk a lot about the pension system and stuff like that, because the new environment law should have been passed this session. But now I think the focus will be on COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think will happen there? What do you think? What will the steps be that you're going to take in order to help, businesses or help even the government overcome the situation?
So the government decided last Friday to spend over 40 billion Swiss francs on the crisis. We as a parliamentary group for startups and entrepreneurship, we sent a letter out on last Thursday to the government with some specific measures we think are good to take in order to support the startup community. The startup community is quite young in Switzerland, I would say 10, 15 years old, and it takes a lot of time to build this community. And now we have the kind of the fear that all this effort will be gone, or if we don't support it now, that we have to start from zero. So the government has taken some good measures. Last Friday, he announced credit for all the small and medium entrepreneurs for this Wednesday. So over the weekend, we worked on another letter signed by the parliamentary group for startups and entrepreneurs. And we sent it last Sunday and got today on Tuesday the message that they will probably implement some measures we suggested also in the ordinance that will be passed tomorrow in the government. So to summarize, I think after tomorrow, we really have to see what are the, did the startups really get the money from the banks or not? So we have to learn from the new praxis, and then we can go back to the government and say what worked and what worked not.
And will you personally be actively involved in this, or how does this whole process work?
So far we were just as a parliamentary group like advising the government, but they didn't ask for advice because they have so many feedbacks. But because the parliament is not working at the moment, there is no institutionalized way how we can say what we think is right or wrong. So at the moment we really need to write emails to the federal councillors to say what we as a parliamentary group think is right or wrong. And I think this is a really strong message, because we have members of all parties in our group, so it's like non-partisan. It's not that like a company is writing, yeah, we have this issue, you have to help us on that. So it's kind of from left wing to right wing, everyone is involved in this process with our parliamentary group, and I think that's also the strength why the Federal Council perhaps also listen to our opinion and not just keep it away and say, oh, that's an industry, they just want to have some benefits.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because there's a little bit of at least that's how I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me, but there's a little bit of a feel that it's very overwhelming what's going on right now, and it's to a certain degree unprecedented. So people, I think, really are trying to figure out what it is that they can do in order to, help this situation. How do you feel? Like, what kind of a feeling do you get from your perspective?
I don't know. I get like two types of answers. We had a survey online for all the startups that they should like write us and tell what they think are the right measures at the moment. And I would say 50% they just wrote, "Oh, we have no revenue anymore. We don't know what to do. We are kind of we have no future." And the other 50% was, "Yeah, we have big issues, but here is our idea how we can support all the community. Here's our idea how you as a politician can act right now." So I think we have those two types of people and startups. So we need to focus on those guys who really, I mean, the situation for all of us is really bad. My own company, we have a restaurant chain. We have 6 restaurants in 3 different cities in Switzerland. We need to lock down all the restaurants. We only operate via delivery. We have minus 80 or 90% of revenue. We had to send our staff home. We pay 100% of their salary. So it's not easy for us as well, but we are on the same boat. So I think now we need to come together with people that are future orientated and who take their skills now and their creativity to make best out of it.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for bringing that up. I think, in the transition in our discussion, this was also going to be a big topic. Obviously, you have a unique perspective on things because you know what it means to have your own company, to have invested, and to have employees. So it's not just, you're not just speaking from a theoretical point of view, you actually feel it every step of the way, right?
Yeah, and here comes the advantage of the political system in Switzerland, that as a member of parliament, it's kind of a 50 or 60% job. So you still have like 40 or 50% of your time to work or to have a company or other things. And at this moment, it's as you mentioned, I can see the political answers and I can see what happens in the economy, and I try to combine those two words and make sure that the startup community has also strong representatives, not just me. Also, I want to mention Judith Beles from the Green Liberal Party. We work really close together, and I think it's really important to not just focus on one person or one party at the moment, to really have a broad group together that helps the system.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a super powerful statement that you just made. We have to come together, and it's not about parties, or it's not about, rich or poor. A sense that I'm getting, and I think this is actually extremely powerful, is that we're all in the same boat. You have poor people and celebrities equally affected by this whole situation, and I think it's in that regard, if there's anything to say that is, I try to think positive. So if there's anything positive to say about all of this, I really feel like it's uniting people in a very special way.
Yeah, and I think the world is different after this virus than before. To be honest, my or our generation, I'm now 26, so I think we grew up in a world with so much freedom, and we could go anywhere, anytime, and meet people. And now it's different. When I was reading a book last night, a biography of a socialist party member, and then you read the book, and you read, oh, they united there and had this kind of meetings, and then you think, but this is not allowed. And then you realize, oh, it was 20 years ago when this book was written, and it kind of, it changes your mind at this situation totally. So I think, yeah, it's going to be interesting how this the society will change. And I think also and this is now kind of a partisan statement, but the value of the freedom we had until now, and we want to have for the future, is really something we need to fight for, and is not just given, and we can enjoy life with this given freedom. Those are things we need to fight for all the time.
Mm. Absolutely. And it's an interesting statement that you're making, because it's, I think right now what's happening, a lot of people are retracting, and they are obviously, and of course, scared to a certain degree, because you don't know what the future holds, and we don't even know yet how long people have to work from home, how long people are expected to be at home and not to go outside. So it's definitely a time of extreme uncertainty. And so it's not only affecting the startup world, but in general, I think individuals are really kind of like taking a step back and are thinking, okay, what is it that I can do as an individual? And so we were making the joke in the beginning about, watching Netflix, and, we had some internet issues before we got started. So I think it's very easy to say, okay, you know what, there's nothing I can do. I'm just going to sit and wait. But wouldn't you, what is your perspective on this? This is probably the best time to start moving and initiating something new. And I always like to say, we are being dealt lemons, so let's start making lemonade. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so for now, we need to make sure that all these measures by the government are right and set in place, and that the whole economy kind of knows how they will get supported. I would say this takes another week, and then we kind of have set up this system. And after this week, we probably have at least 4 other weeks we need to stay at home, and we don't have physical interactions with other people. So yeah, there is for sure opportunity for new ideas, but there is also a huge need probably for interactions, digital interactions. We had a rising issue with mental illness all over the world, and I think this will not be better in this situation. So it's not just a moment to think about starting a new business or new ideas. It's also a moment to think about which people are at home now, no one cares about them, and how can we approach them and support them. So I think for sure this time sets a lot of creativity free for all of us, but we need to make sure that all people in the society are taken with us and not forgotten.
Mm-hmm. This is a really great statement that you're making. I did a LinkedIn post just a couple of days ago, because my wife and I, we were going out, and we were walking. This was a little bit before, but we were walking around, and we were thinking, if with the lockdown that is happening, and now it's actually, we're getting to a point where the only reason why you should go out is maybe to buy groceries, or if you need to go to the doctor, you need to go to the pharmacy. But then we realized, okay, we have a neighbor in our building, and she's definitely, I don't know exactly how old she is, but she's definitely plus 65. I would say she's probably in her 70s. And if somebody like this, we cannot just walk around and assume that they're taken care of. Maybe she doesn't have any family. So right away we put a note on her door and said, if there's anything that you need, we'll gladly go buy groceries for you. And sure enough, 2 hours later, she put a note on our door saying, if things keep going like this, within a week, I will not be able to go buy food anymore. Please
Yeah.
help me.
Yeah.
And so I think this is what the statement that you made is extremely powerful, because we also need to think about others in this time.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Mm.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And that's
Uh,
what we did for the startup community as well. I
yeah.
mean, for my company, it takes also time to make sure that everything works fine and to lower the cost. But what we are doing at the moment is also we take care of all the others, because the big corporations, they have their direct access to the government, but the smaller ones, they don't. So we try to make this bridge.
Mm. And like I said, I think it's amazing what you're doing. And honestly, and I think you brought it up earlier as well, it's not just startups, right? There's an electrical store right down the street. It's been around, I think, for many, many years, probably far over 50 years. And I got to talk for a split second to the owner, because they're closed, but you can actually still buy something. They will just open the door and they will make individual sales. And he was saying, we've been around for many decades, and this is the first time in our existence where we used to have about 350 clients a day. Now we have maybe 30, 40 clients a day. And he was saying, if past April 19th, if the stores are going to kept on lockdown, they will probably have to close their stores for good. So it's
Yeah.
not about just startups, but it's about businesses in general.
Yeah, and you see how those companies don't have much reserves, and they are not that all of or most of them are not like rich people, and they just do it for fun. So it's kind of, we see now how fragile, or how do you say,
Agile, yeah.
fragile the whole economy and the whole society is. It takes only 2 3 weeks, and we have many people having issues with paying their bills. And yeah, for me, it's also a sign for the future in politics that we cannot take this economy for granted, that we always have profits and we always can pay the bills at the right time. So we really need to make sure that we have a supportive environment for the economy also in the future. And we see now with this 40 billion package by the government, Switzerland can only make this because we had some profits the last years in the government. We put these profits aside, and now we have enough money to spend it. But imagine we have every year a crisis like that. We don't have enough money enough tax money uh, to pay for the recovery. So this is something I also had in mind the last days. No one can say that we don't have this crisis more often than just, I don't know, every 50 years or so. So if we have it every 5 or every 10 years, we need to make sure now that the system gets more resilient to this kind of virus.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. I mean, what's going on right now also in the United States, I lived in the States for a very long time. Just yesterday, I did an interview with a startup over there, because obviously it's a global issue. I also want to, raise awareness for this as well. But absolutely, I mean, the United States, it was actually kind of interesting, because I read an article in the New York Times, and they were saying, well, we don't have any reserves, but we need to, we need to unlock the money anyways. And literally, I think an hour later in Swiss news, I saw exactly what you were just saying. Thank God we made, we put money aside over the past years, because otherwise we would be struggling right now. But exactly like you said, this is a lucky situation right now. But if this happens again in a year or 2 years, I think the situation will look a lot different.
Yes, yes. So we need to rethink the economy and also the society for the future. There's no way to just say, oh, now it happened, we survived, and now we keep on going. So
Mm.
it's going to be big discussions in the future.
Absolutely. And I think the important discussions as well. And it's amazing that, I feel a little bit at ease that, somebody with your mindset is there as well, because I think you're a great representative of what's going on right now.
Thank
What's the future of Kaizen? Like, how are you said it earlier, sending, employees home, you have to wait. Are you becoming a more digital business? Are you delivering more? Like, what's going to happen?
So this year was the plan was to grow even bigger. So we had a plan to double our revenue every year, and we were full like on this plan. But now we need to close all the stores. So um, now we need to make sure that when the government the measures are taken down, so people can go out again to be there for our guests. For sure, we thought also in the past to digitize our business more and more, but in the end, it's food when we sell food, so we need to be close to the people. And our model so far is really flexible. We don't rent shops. We are always a subcontractor to the main renter. So we are always part of bars or coffee shops, and so we are really agile, and we don't have a lot of costs. So I think our model is ready for the future. So we wait until people can engage again and can go to work, and then we will set up and open up new stores. And for sure, delivery we had delivery for 2 years, and we are now happy to have it. But it's for us, it's not a replacement for the revenue we generate in the stores.
Mm. Absolutely. I walk by you almost every day. It's you're represented in a little shop down there, so
Yeah.
I'll definitely be thinking of you every single time I walk by.
Thank you.
Maybe, as we are coming to the end of this interview, do you have maybe a message for startups out there or companies in general, like maybe a message of encouragement or a message of caution, whatever it is that you would like to share?
So first of all, I want to thank you for all the hours you put at work as startups. I know that it's hard work. You don't get paid a lot, and now you have this crisis facing you. So it's nothing that we wished or expected. So thank you very much for your effort, and we are here for you. We hear you. If you have something concrete you want to change, you can reach out to Judy, to me, or to anyone you feel represented. But please be really not just short, but concrete. What measurements should be taken to help the community, not just your business? And if we get messages like that, we really care about, and we will make sure we will make everything that you get heard in the parliament and in the government as well.
This is great, absolutely. And we'll make sure that, so this video is going to go on YouTube, and then it's mainly going to be shared on LinkedIn. I'll obviously make sure that you're going to be tagged in this, and we'll make sure that there is, links in there and everything, so that people know what they need to do and where to reach out to.
Yes.
Maybe to end the interview at a little bit of a fun note, what's the first thing you will do once all of this is over and you can roam the city free and you're not locked up in your apartment anymore?
I will just start hugging all the people I like. That really. Yeah, that's probably the first thing.
I'm with you on that one. So I think after all this social distancing, I think physical contact will definitely be much needed. All right,
Thank you very much for this session.
Honestly, it's really on me. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm super impressed by all the things that you're doing. And please, the message that you sent out to the startups, same for you. Please keep pushing. Your voice is being heard, and it's a really powerful one. And we definitely need that right now. And I look forward to seeing all the work that you will be doing in the future.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.